Welcome back, everyone. It appears that my biggest nightmare is coming true. And that is that lab-grown meat could be making its way into American restaurants as early as this year, 2023. Here we are. This comes after the FDA gave the green light to the California-based food technology company Upside Foods back in November, saying their lab-made chicken is safe for human consumption. Now, the executives of Upside Foods told Reuters this week they're hoping to bring its product to restaurants as soon as 2023 and to grocery stores by 2028. Reminder, the World Economic Forum has been pushing for this for years. It all started as an effort to save the planet and cut greenhouse gas emissions because cows and chickens, they fart, you see. But in reality, it has nothing to do with that. You think the global elites at Davos are really going to choose lab-grown chicken or a filet mignon for themselves? I don't think so. I want to bring on Mark Morano to discuss this more. He's the founder of the Climate Depot and author of The Great Reset. Mark, thank you so much for joining me. This is, when I was looking all of this up, doing a little bit of research for the show, I actually watched some videos on how they make this lab-grown meat. And I had to grab a trash can just to have it on standby because it was disgusting. Are people actually going to get on board with this, do you think?
Hey, if it's good enough for Singapore, I'm ready to eat it. That's the only country that's approved it. I love the way they always mention that. I don't think anytime soon. I mean, I can't answer that because people went on board with lockdowns, church closures, mask mandates, vax mandates, school closures. There wasn't enough resistance, so who knows if they'll resist this. In the context, what you're seeing here, Addison, is very simple. This is the great food reset aspect of the Great Reset. And make no mistake, Bill Gates in China and the United States are buying up farmland. Now, you'd think, oh, that's great competition, but Bill Gates is the winner at the moment. Bill Gates is America's largest single farmland owner. What's Bill Gates' mission? To make the Western world, Europe, Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, anything developed world, eat lab-grown meat and completely get off animal agriculture. As the world's biggest, America's largest single farmland owner, he's going to hold a lot of sway on agricultural and livestock policy in the United States. With ownership comes that power. And remember, our role, Addison, is we'll own nothing, we'll be happy, we'll be eating this lab-grown meat. And as you mentioned, it's grown in a steel vat. They get stem cells from fetal blood of a cow or a lamb, a sheep, and then in a full-grown one, put it into this steel vat, add stuff. It sort of grows this amorphous blob. They add stuff for texture, color, and the World Economic Forum has the best part. At the end of the day, you get to print several kilograms of this fake lab-grown meat a minute. So when you're, hey, what's for dinner, honey? Hey, I'm printing up the dinner right now, and it's coming out some kind of 3D printed meat. In quotes. This is their vision of the future for us.
They want us to sit in the pod, eat the bugs while snack on the bugs while we're cooking our synthetic beef made by some guy in a lab.
Bugs are an improvement because at least they're from the natural world. Yeah. This is not quite.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now we actually have a clip of them making a lab-grown burger, ground beef. I want to play that for our audience. Look at this. This is what they want you to eat.
Would you eat this? It's meat, but I guarantee you it's like no meat you've ever seen before. That's because this stuff was grown from cells in a lab.
Clean meat is meat grown by cell culture rather than grown by an animal. From a scientific perspective, it's awe-inspiring.
Lab-grown or clean meat is slaughter-free and potentially more eco-friendly because it uses less land, water, and energy.
Mark, did you see that pile of goo in the first few seconds of that video? What is that? That's meat? We're supposed to buy that?
I have several dogs, and I've seen that before when their diet isn't quite right or when they've been eating too much table food. So yeah, it did look familiar to me. I don't know this is supposed to be clean meat, sustainable. The idea is there's no methane emissions, which is a joke. There's no agricultural land use, where they're going to be putting all this into the laboratories. And then, of course, there's the human reaction, which we have no idea. This is beyond discussing. Just remember, the whole human health aspect, as we've gotten more and more to processed food, we've had the explosion of obesity and all the related illnesses. All this is going to be another experiment on people based on a premise of a climate emergency, and we can't use animal agriculture, and we can't eat meat, and we can't do anything that requires emissions because of the climate emergency. That's how they're justifying all this. And the same thing, Addison, the other aspect of this is not only are they pushing the insects, but they're pushing a complete stoppage of high-yield agriculture due to these net zero policies. We're seeing this sweep Europe, Canada, Australia. You can't use nitrogen fertilizers the way you could in the past. So yields per acre are going to be dropping, and it's going to create food shortages, i.e., Bill Gates, who's funding a lot of this fake meat research, will then be able to create more demand. As food becomes more and more scarce and more expensive, guess what? You're going to have lab meat processed crap to the rescue.
Yep, that's exactly right. Now, we have a clip of Bill Gates. People need to understand how central he is to all this. You already mentioned he owns more farmland than anyone in the United States, one of the most in the entire world. And his argument, really, for all of this, for the beyond meat, the beyond eggs, buying up all the farmland and calling for everyone to go vegan or eat lab-grown meat, is because cow farts are going to destroy the planet. I know that sounds like a Babylon Bee headline, but that really is what he's saying. We have the tapes.
Animals that can eat grass have very unusual stomachs that have these bacteria that are methanogenic in there. And so they leak natural gas, both out the front and the back. And so people have said, well, let's change the hay or throw some things in there. And it's been, nobody knows how to get rid of
no one knows how to get cows to stop farting.
Exactly, or burping. And so there is artificial meat, but that's at a very early stage. But that's another big source of greenhouse gas emissions. So, I'm just trying to make sure that the people who acknowledge the problem, which I think is fantastic, that they understand the breadth of innovation required before you can get anywhere near to what we have to do, which is zero. If it was a 50% reduction, then you could ignore, okay, leave the cows alone.
This is why I hate science so much, Mark, because depending on how old you think the Earth is, whether you think it's thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000, million, billion, trillion years old, cows have been around for a very long time. This is a pretty durable planet we live on. And this man actually thinks we're dumb enough to buy the line that cows burping and farting are going to destroy the Earth, make the sun monster mad. What is the so-called science they're using to support this?
Well, first of all, they're trying to say methane is this greenhouse gas more potent than carbon dioxide. And multiple scientists, and there have been peer-reviewed studies on this. In fact, the foremost expert on greenhouse gases, Dr. Will Happer of Princeton, has said this. They've called it the irrelevant greenhouse gas. Methane can only do so much. It has none of the impacts that Bill Gates is claiming. And if it did, as you mentioned, we've had animal agriculture, we've had cows and sheep and lambs for eons on planet Earth, and the idea that somehow they're driving this climate emergency. No, they might be helping drive a climate a certain way, but it's a climate that we're used to and we've always had. So what he's doing is, again, it's scare tactics to get you to eat this lab-grown meat. And by the way, it's important to note, the vegetable-based burgers that you get, like the Impossible Burger at Burger King, that's not lab-grown meat. That's vegetable oil processed crap that they try to make look like it. And even CNN nutritionists have said aren't healthy. They're full of all the unhealthy fats, and they're saturated fat, and it's processed. But that's different than this lab-grown meat from stem cells grown in a steel vat. So they have to keep track of this disgusting new world that they're putting forward with us.
And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the Beyond Meat and the synthetic beef, don't they emit use carbon emissions when they're in the process of making those too?
I mean, yeah, it's from vegetable oils. And again, if you're using especially a lot of vegetable byproducts, there's been a study out of Carnegie Mellon University that organic farms actually can have more emissions than traditional agriculture. They're more land and resource intensive, require more stuff. It can end up creating more resource use of the earth. So this is where we are. I call it the Great Food Reset. You're going to ban regular meat, collapse our current food system, ban high yield agriculture, go after meat eating, replace it with fake vegetable oil processed, replace it with lab-grown meat, create scarcity, force people to do this. They've already done it in Australia, Europe, giving kids insect-based powdered chips, which don't, and so they're getting psychological operations underway to condition us to accept eating insects. And I'm sure they'll do the same thing with this fake meat.
Well, all that said, I think I'm going to go home and cook a nice steak for dinner tonight. Mark Morano, great to have you on, founder of the Climate Depot. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Addison. Appreciate it.